A scream pierces the fog of London, 1935, and Hercule Poirot spins on his heel as a masked figure vanishes behind velvet curtains dripping with blood. Welcome to the story. Grab a cup of tea and settle in for the ride if you feel the chill creeping. Up your spine, hit subscribe. Now your support means the world to us and keeps these shadows alive, and tell us in the comments from where you are watching this amazing story. Chapter 1. The Dagger Falls. The grand lobby of the Imperial Theatre glows under crystal chandeliers that scatter light like 1,000 tiny knives across marble floors, polished to mirror sheen men in tuxedos and women in silk gowns swirl past, columns wrapped in gold leaf, their laughter sharp and brittle as champagne flutes clinking in nervous toasts. Tonight is opening night for the play, Empire of Shadows, a lavish production whispered to hide secrets deeper than any script the air, smells of roses and gunpowder, though no one admits the second scent, yet. Hercule Poirot stands near the grand staircase, his small frame immaculate in a tailored black suit, his moustache waxed to perfect points, his grey cells already humming like a hive of bees disturbed by thunder. He sips a tiny cup of thick Turkish coffee brought specially from his favourite cafe. His eyes, green and bright, scan every face, every gesture, every flicker of fear hidden behind painted smiles he has come at. The urgent request of the theatre owner, Sir Reginald Voss, a man whose fortune was built on smuggling gems inside hollowed opera scores. Sir Reginald approaches now, his face pale beneath a beard trimmed like a hedge, his hands trembling as he clutches a velvet pouch heavy with something that clinks softly. Poirot. "My friend," he whispers, voice cracking like old paint. "Thank you for coming. Someone is trying to destroy me tonight. During the final act, a murder will happen on stage, but it will be real. Blood-real death, and the killer wears a mask. No one can see." Poirot places the coffee cup on a passing waiter's tray, with delicate precision. His voice calm as still water. "Tell me everything from the beginning." Sir Reginald leave out no detail. Not even the colour of the thread on the button you found. They move to a quiet alcove behind a potted palm, its leaves brushing the ceiling like green fingers, eavesdropping. Sir Reginald speaks quickly. The play, Empire of Shadows, tells the story of a secret society that controls kings and presidents from behind red curtains 3 weeks ago. Anonymous letters began arriving written in blood ink, each promising that on opening night, the lead actor, Victor Lang, would die exactly as his character does, stabbed through the heart with a jeweled dagger. Then yesterday, a stagehand vanished, his uniform found folded neatly in the prop room, stained with fresh crimson. Poirot listens, his head tilted like a bird studying a worm. "Have you informed the police?" Sir Reginald shakes his head. "Too many powerful men invested in this theatre. Scotland Yard would scare them away and ruin me." Poirot nods slowly. The little grey cells approve of discretion, but not of blindness. "Show me the stage." They slip through a side door into the wings where ropes hang like jungle vines and flats painted with palaces and prisons lean against brick walls. The stage itself is a masterpiece of illusion. A throne room with velvet curtains the colour of fresh bruises. Footlights glow soft and golden. The orchestra pit below hums with musicians tuning violins that will soon weep. The jewelled dagger lies on a prop table, its blade catching light like a cat's eye. Poirot lifts it, the weight perfect, the balance deadly. He runs a gloved finger along the edge, and a bead of blood appears on the leather real enough to kill backstage smells of grease paint. And fear actors pace in costumes of silk and satin, their faces white with powder and panic. Victor Lang, the star, stands center stage rehearsing his death scene. He clutches his chest, staggers and falls with theatrical grace, but his eyes dart to the curtains every few seconds, as if expecting the blade to come early. He is tall and golden-haired with a voice that could charm coins from a miser's fist. Yet tonight, his hands shake so badly, he drops the fake dagger, twice. Poirot watches from the shadows, then steps forward. Bonsoir, Monsieur Lang. A pleasure to meet the man who will die so convincingly tell. Me, have you received the letters too? Lang freezes his smile, brittle as spun sugar. Yes, 3 of them, each more poetic than the last, promising my heart on a silver platter. Literally. He laughs, but the sound cracks like ice on a ponder stage manager. Rushes past shouting 5 minutes to curtain the house lights dim. The audience murmurs swell like a tide. Poirot returns to the wings, his mind mapping every exit, every shadow, every possible line of sight. Sir Reginald hovers nearby, wringing his hands. The curtains part, and the play begins. Act 1 unfolds with dazzling precision. Dancers swirl, courtiers scheme, the evil vizier plots from behind the velvet throne. The audience leans forward, caught in the spell. But Poirot sees only mechanics, the trapdoor beneath the throne, the pulley system for the flying chandelier, the catwalk above where a shadow could crouch unseen. He notes the masked figure who appears briefly in the background, a character in the script or something more during. Intermission. Poirot slips into the audience, mingling with lords and ladies who smell of money and perfume. He overhears whispers, the play is cursed, the dagger is real. The society is watching a duchess, fans herself too quickly, her diamonds flashing, like warning signals. Poirot smiles politely and moves on, planting questions like seeds that will bloom into confessions later. Backstage again, he examines the prompt corner where the stage manager controls lights and sound. The script lies open, marked in red pencil cues, for thunder, for blood, for death. The blood is meant to be a packet hidden in Victor's costume, but Poirot finds the packet already torn open. The red liquid inside smells metallic and warm. Too warm for corn syrup and dye. He confronts the prop master, a thin man with nervous eyes, who swears the blood packets were intact an hour ago. Someone switched them. Someone with access. Someone who knows the exact moment Victor will clutch his chest and fall. Poirot pockets a sample. In a tiny glass vial, his mind racing through suspects, the jealous understudy, the bitter playwright, the investor who lost a fortune on the last production. The bell rings for Act 2, the audience settles, the lights dim, Victor takes the stage, his voice steady now but sweat beads on his brow like morning dew. The vizier advances, dagger raised the orchestra, swells the moment approaches. Poirot stands in the wings, his heart beating in perfect rhythm with the music. Every grey cell alert Victor. Falls, the blade plunges, the audience gasps, but this time the gasp is real. Blood blooms across his white shirt like a dark rose. He does not rise for applause. He lies still, eyes wide and staring. The curtain falls in a rush of velvet and screams, "Sir!" Reginald grabs Poirot's arm, his face the colour of ash. It started just as the letter promised. Poirot gently frees himself, his voice calm as a lullaby. "No, my friend. It has not started. It has only revealed the first move on the board. And Hercule. Poirot is now playing to win." The house lights come up. Chaos erupts. Ushers shout, for calm police sirens wail in the distance. But Poirot is already moving, slipping through side doors and secret passages. His mind, A map of the theatre. Every room, every corridor, every hidden empire waiting behind the velvet curtain. And somewhere in the dark, a masked figure smiles, knowing the game has only just begun. Chapter 2. Shadows in the catwalk fog. From the Thames creeps through cracked backstage windows and coils around ropes thick as pythons, high above the stage where the body of Victor Lang still lies under a white sheet, stained crimson like a battle. Flag police constables mill below their boots, thudding on wood worn smooth. By a century of footsteps, Poirot stands on the edge of the orchestra pit. His small shoes planted firm, his eyes lifted to the iron grid 30 feet up, where shadows pool. Deeper than ink, he smells oil from the lamps, sweat from the actors, and the sharp tang of fresh blood drifting down like mist. Inspector Japp climbs the ladder from the pit, his face red and shiny as a boiled lobster, his moustache drooping with damp. He waves a notebook already filled with frantic scrawls. Poirot, old friend, what the devil happened? The man was stabbed with a stage prop, yet the blade is real steel, and the wound goes clean through to the spine. Suicide, impossible, murder, certain, but no one saw the killer. Poirot raises one finger, delicate as a conductor's baton. Patience, mon ami. The eye sees only what the mind prepares for. Look up there where the catwalk crosses the flies. Do you see the fresh scratch on the railing? Bright, metal shining like a guilty wink. Japp squints and grunts. Someone was up there, heavy enough to bend the iron slightly, and clever enough to vanish before the curtain hit the floor. They climb a narrow spiral stair hidden behind a false wall. Its steps, creaking like old bones, the air grows hotter with every turn. Bulbs in wire cages cast pools of yellow light that flicker and die in rhythm with distant thunder at the top. The catwalk stretches narrow as a knife blade planks groaning under there. Weight sandbags hang like sleeping giants on either side, ready to drop scenery or death. With equal ease, Poirot kneels his gloves spotless against the grime. He finds a single black thread caught on a nail, thin as a spider's silk, but strong as steel. He holds it to the light. It came from a mask woven tight to hide a face, yet loose enough to snag in haste, nearby a cigarette butt still warm. The brand expensive Turkish, the same as the coffee he drank earlier, but this one crushed out in panic. The smoker stood here, watched the stage, waited for the exact cue when Victor clutched his chest. And the orchestra hit, the crescendo. Japp sniffs the air, tobacco, and something sweeter lilies of the valley perfume, worn by only one woman in the company. The understudy, Clara Vale, who dreamed of the lead role since she was 16. Poirot pockets the thread and the butt, his mind spinning a web that catches motives like flies. Clara wanted fame. Sir Reginald wanted silence. The playwright wanted revenge. And someone else wanted the hidden empire to stay. Buried below, the sheet is pulled back. Victor Lang stares at the ceiling, his golden hair dark with blood, the wound precise between the 4th and 5th rib. The dagger now bagged by police lies on. A table, its jewels fake, but its edge honed to surgical sharpness. The prop master swears the real blade was locked in a cabinet, yet the lock shows no scratch, no force. Only a key turned by a steady hand. Poirot descends to the dressing room's corridors. Narrow and hot with gas jets hissing like angry cats' mirrors line the walls, reflecting him 100 times each image. A little more determined doors stand open. Actors weep or smoke or stare into space. Clara Vale sits before her mirror, her face clean of makeup, her eyes red but dry. She wears a robe of emerald silk, her hands steady as she brushes her hair, 100 strokes exactly. Mademoiselle Poirot says soft as a secret. May I ask why you wear perfume tonight, when the script calls for none? Clara smiles sharp as the dagger, because Victor hated the scent. He said it made him sneeze on stage tonight. He will sneeze no more. Her voice flat as a frozen lake. Poirot nods the grey cells. Note the absence of grief and the presence of calculation. He moves on to the playwright's room, a chaos of paper and gin bottles. The man himself paces barefoot, his shirt unbuttoned. His eyes wild. He wrote the play to expose the society he claims, but the society paid his debts last year, a devil's bargain, sealed with ink and fear. Sir Reginald waits in the wings. His face collapsed like wet paper. He clutches a ledger bound in red leather, its pages filled with names that could topple governments. Poirot takes it gently, the weight of empires in his palm. Inside a photograph slips out a group of men in masks standing before the same velvet curtains. One face circled in blood. The man who vanished, the stagehand, his eyes wide even in death. Jap joins them, his notebook now thick with lies and half-truths. We have footprints on the catwalk, size 9 narrow heel woman's or a small man's and a glove kid. Leather left behind in haste, monogrammed with the letter M. Poirot turns the glove in his hands. The stitching perfect, the scent of lilies, faint but unmistakable. The theatre empties slowly, the audience gone. The police posted at every door, the lights dim to a single spot on the stage, where the blood pool gleams like black oil. Poirot stands alone, his shadow long and sharp. He speaks to the empty air. The killer is still here, watching, waiting for the next act. But Hercule Poirot does not wait. He strikes first. He climbs back to the catwalk. The night deep and silent. Now thunder rolling closer, like applause from angry gods. He finds a trapdoor hidden beneath a false panel, a ladder leading down into the bowels of the theatre, where gas pipes hiss and rats scurry, in the dark footprints in dust. Led to a door painted the same red as the curtains behind it, a room lit by a single. Candle masks hang on hooks like faces skinned and waiting. A table holds letters written in blood ink. The next threat dated tomorrow, the target. Sir Reginald himself. Poirot blows out the candle. Darkness swallows him whole, but his mind burns bright. The hidden empire has a face, a voice, a plan, and now it has a hunter. The game moves underground, where velvet turns to stone, and secrets bleed slower than men. Somewhere above, a clock strikes 2. The theatre sleeps, but the shadows are wide awake. Chapter 3. The Crimson Ledger Candle. Smoke curls through the stone corridor beneath the stage, and Poirot follows the scent down a passage so narrow his shoulders brush damp brick. Every third step, a gas valve hisses like a warning. The air tastes of rust and old wine. The ladder from the catwalk ends here in a cellar forgotten, since the theatre rose above the Thames mud 100 years ago. The red door stands ajar, its paint cracked like dried blood. Inside the room waits untouched since the candle died. Masks stare from hooks, their eye holes black and patient. The table holds the stack of letters, each sealed with black wax, stamped by a serpent coiled around a crown. Poirot lifts the top sheet, the ink still wet tomorrow. Sir Reginald will join Victor in the orchestra pit, his throat opened by the same hand that wrote these words. A second book lies beneath the letters, bound in crimson leather thinner than the ledger upstairs, its pages filled with numbers and initials, columns of money moving like ghosts across borders. 10,000 to MV, 5,000 to CV, 20,000, to a name scratched out with acid. The final entry dated tonight, a single word paid beside the serpent. Seal Poirot closes the book and slips it. Inside his coat, the weight warm against his heart. He turns to the masks and lifts one. A harlequin face painted gold and grief. The inside lined with silk stained by sweat and fear. A strand of dark hair clings to the fabric, long and fine the colour. Of midnight, he rolls the hair between thumb and forefinger and tucks it into a silver case. Footsteps echo faint from the far end of the corridor. Light quick, almost dancing. Poirot extinguishes his pocket torch and presses into an alcove where barrels, rot and spiders spin. The steps grow closer, then stop a match. Flares, orange light blooms on the face of Clara Vale. Her eyes wide and bright as broken glass. She carries a small bundle wrapped in black cloth. Her breath white in the cold. She kneels. By the table unwraps the cloth and reveals a second dagger twin to the one that killed Victor, its blade wrapped in velvet. She lays it beside the letters and whispers to the empty room. One more, and the circle closes. Then the empire rises clean. She kisses the serpent seal and stands the match burning down to her fingers, before she drops it into a puddle where it dies with a hiss. Poirot steps from the shadows. Bonsoir, mademoiselle, the night air suits you. Clara spins the new dagger flashing. Toward his throat, he catches her wrist with fingers thin but unbreakable twists until the blade clatters on stone. You wrote the letters, you switched the blood. You climbed the catwalk like a cat in silk slippers. She laughs soft and bitter. The sound of ice cracking on a winter river. You understand nothing, little man. The empire is older than your moustache. Older than this theatre. It owns the stage, the street, the crown itself. Victor was a message. Sir Reginald is a warning, and you, Poirot, you are a moth, fluttering too close to the flame. She pulls free her wrist already bruising and backs toward the corridor, her robe swirling like smoke. Poirot does not chase. He listens. Her footsteps fade up a second stair hidden behind the barrels. He finds the mechanism, a lever disguised as a gas pipe, pulls it, and the wall swings inward, revealing a tunnel brick lined and sloping down toward the river. The air grows wet, and the echo of water slapping stone travels up like distant applause, follows the tunnel alone, his torch beam, cutting a white path through black. The walls weep moisture, and names are carved deep by idle hands, or desperate ones. Dates from 1894, 1912, 1927. Each beside the serpent symbol. At the end are iron gate rusted, but strong beyond it. The Thames flows black and slow under a grating moonlight. Spills through bars in silver knives. Small boat waits tied to a ring bolt. Its paint fresh, its oars muffled in cloth. A single figure sits in the stern, cloaked and hooded, the face hidden, but the posture familiar. Sir Reginald Voss himself, his beard silver in the moon, his eyes fixed on Poirot, as if he has waited hours or years. "Get in," says the theatre owner, his voice steady. Now the river carries secrets faster than any tongue. Poirot steps aboard, the boat rocks gently. The gate clangs shut behind them. The current catches and pulls them into the night. Mist rising from the water like ghosts of drowned actors. Sir Reginald rows with smooth strokes the oars, silent. You found the cellar then, and the girl. She is only the hand, not the mind. The empire has many hands, but one heart buried deeper than this river. He gestures to the crimson book, now safe in Poirot coat. We must reach the heart before dawn, or London wakes to a new king wearing a mask. The boat slides under Blackfriars Bridge, the stone arch dripping on their heads. Bells toll 3 from a distant steeple. The water smells of coal and corpses. Poirot watches the cloaked man row and sees. The tremor in his shoulders, not fear but rage held tight. As a coiled spring, you invested in the play to expose them. Poirot says, "Quiet." Sir Reginald nods. The ledger upstairs was bait. This book is the hook they bit, and now they reel us in. But I know, where the heart beats, an old music hall beneath Covent Garden destroyed by fire in 1904. Yet the cellar lives, the serpent meets there tonight to crown its new emperor. The boat scrapes against steps slick with algae. They climb into an alley where gas lamps flicker and die. Rats watch with ruby eyes. Sir Reginald leads the way, his cloak shedding water like a duck. They move through streets empty of all but shadows. The city asleep, yet pulsing with hidden life. At Covent Garden, the market stalls stand bear crates stacked like coffins. A trapdoor hides beneath a pile of rotten cabbage. Poirot lifts it, the hinges silent with oil stares. Spiral down into heat, and the smell of incense and molten wax voices rise in chant. Latin twisted into something, older the serpent tongue. They descend the final step, and the cellar opens vast as a cathedral. Pillars carved with coiled snakes hold up a ceiling lost in smoke. Torches burn green and blue masks, fill the space, dozens of them faces of power and wealth. The chant swells as a figure steps onto a dais cloaked in gold, the new dagger raised high. Sir Reginald grips Poirot's arm tight enough to bruise the heart. He whispers, and the Empire beats for the last time tonight. Chapter 4. The Serpent. Crown green flame licks the pillars and throws writhing shadows across stone worn smooth by centuries of secret feet. The chant rolls deep and guttural, a heartbeat made of words. The masked figures sway in perfect time there, robes brushing the floor like dry wings at the center of the dais. The gold-cloaked leader lifts the new dagger high, its blade catching torchlight and spitting it back red. The crowd hushes to a breath held in 1,000 throats. Poirot and Sir Reginald press against the back wall, half hidden by a buttress carved with screaming faces. The heat presses close sweat beads on Poirot's upper lip. Yet his eyes stay cold and bright, counting masks, measuring distances, mapping the room like a chessboard. 37 figures in the circle, 6 guards with staves tipped in iron, 1 exit behind the dais, sealed by a portcullis of black oak, the air thick with myrrh and the copper promise of blood. The leader speaks, voice muffled, yet ringing. The Empire sheds its skin tonight. Victor was the husk, Sir Reginald the scar. Now we crown the head that wears the serpent forever. A velvet pillow is brought forward by a child in white. The crown rests upon it, a circlet of black gold shaped like a snake devouring, its own tail, diamonds for eyes, rubies for venom. The leader lifts the crown, and the chant begins again, louder, faster. A storm gathering in stone. Sir Reginald leans close, his breath hot on Poirot's ear. The crown is the key. It opens the vault beneath, Parliament, where the true charter sleeps, signed by kings and killers alike. Destroy the crown, and the Empire cracks. Poirot nods, once his hand already inside his coat, closing around the silver cigarette case that holds more than tobacco. The leader turns, scanning the masks as if choosing the chosen. 1 steps, fall silent. A single figure moves forward, tall, thin. The mask, a plain white oval. No mouth, no eyes, only smooth bone. The robe, crimson silk, the colour of arterial spray, the leader places, the crown on the blank head, and the room explodes in sound drums hidden in alcoves. Thunder cymbals crash, the guards raise staves in salute. Poirot moves, he slips along the wall, quick and silent, as thought the crowd parts without seeing drawn to, the dais like iron to lodestone. He reaches the child still holding the empty pillow, takes a sweet from his pocket, coated in sugar and something sharper, presses it into the small hand. Whispers run to the river and find the boat. The child vanishes into shadow sugar, melting on tongue eyes already glazing. Sir Reginald follows close, his cloak shed now, his shirt soaked with sweat. They reach the portcullis. Poirot kneels, studies the lock ancient, but oiled a simple tumbler full. He draws a bent hairpin from his lapel, works it gentle, patient. The mechanism sighs, open the gate, rises an inch too enough for a cat or a Belgian. The crowned figure raises the dagger to the sky and speaks for the first time. Voice clear, young familiar, Clara Vale. Beneath the white mask, her eyes visible now burning with triumph. The empire is reborn, she cries, and the masks kneel as one. Poirot and Sir Reginald slip through the gate into a narrow passage lit by a single red bulb. The portcullis drops behind them with a clang that echoes like a death knell ahead. Stairs climb steep and slick with moss at the top. A door of iron bound with chains, a padlock new and shining. Poirot works again, the hairpins singing in the quiet. The lock clicks open. They push through into cold night air, and the smell of vegetables rotting under frost-covered garden lies silent above them. The sky paling to pearl dawn only an hour away. Sir Reginald leans against a crate chest, heaving. We have the book, the hair, the glove, but the crown still beats. Poirot looks back at the trapdoor, now closed tight as a tomb. They will come for us before the sun. A whistle cuts the dark, sharp and urgent. Jap steps from behind a barrow, his coat buttoned to the throat. 4 constables, at his back torch beams slicing the gloom. Poirot, you look like you wrestled the devil and won. The sergeant holds up the kid, leather glove. Monogram M found near the river with a boat cut loose. We followed the water trail. Here. Poirot smiles small and sharp. The devil wears many faces, mon ami, tonight. He wears a crown of snakes. He turns to Sir Reginald. The vault beneath Parliament opens only at equinox. The crown is the key. They will move it before noon. We must be faster than serpents, sir. Reginald straightens his eyes hard as flint. Then I know a way through the old mail tunnels disused since the war. They run beneath the houses like roots. We take the ledger, the book, the proof, and we strike at the heart before it strikes at us. Jap nods grim. The yard is yours till sunrise. After that, the commissioner wants heads on platters, starting with yours. Poirot bows slight. We shall give him a serpent instead. They move through the market, shadows thinning as the first cart rumbles in, wheels creaking under cabbage and lies. Poirot leads the way to a grate in the street, lifts it with Jap. Help the stink of old paper and rat droppings rises like a curse below iron rungs, descend into darkness. The city, true city, the one that never sleeps as they climb down. The chant starts again, faint but rising through stone. The empire calling its children home. The crown warm on Clara head. The dagger hungry for the final cut. Poirot last to descend, pulls the grate shut above him. The sky Already blushing with coming light, the game races toward checkmate, and the board is wet with blood. Chapter 5. The Mail. Vane's iron rungs bite cold through gloves, and the tunnel swallows them whole. The grate clanging shut like a coffin lid, above the mail veins stretch black, and endless brick arches dripping with water that smells of ink and empire. The air thick enough to chew lanterns swing from Jap belt, and Sir Reginald hand casting gold circles that slide over rails, rusted red wheels of forgotten carts. Still wait for letters that never came. Poirot walks point his shoes silent on gravel, his torch beam stabbing ahead every 10 paces. A junction branches left to Whitehall, right to the river, straight to Parliament. The map lives in his head, drawn from a drunk engineer's confession. 20 years ago, the Crown must travel this way. The tunnels are the only path unseen by sun. Or constable, Jap mutters numbers under breath, counting steps, pacing distance. The constables follow 2 by 2 rifles, slung but fingers nervous on triggers. Sir Reginald clutches the crimson book to his chest, the ledger safe in Poirot coat. They move fast. The echo of their boots, a drumbeat, calling the serpent awake. A rumble grows ahead, low and steady. The mail train long abandoned. Yet something moves on the rails. A handcar pumped by 4 masked figures, robes tucked high. The crown glints on Clara, head her white mask stark in the dark. The dagger rests across her lap like a sleeping cat. They push south the car wheels, singing on steel sparks, spitting blue Poirot signals. Halt, they press into an alcove, where sacks of undelivered love letters rot soft as flesh. The handcar rolls past close enough to touch Clara. Eyes sweep the tunnel, but miss the shadows. Her voice carries back, sharp as frost. Faster the equinox window closes at 6. The vault seals. For another year. The car vanishes around a bend, the echo fading to water, drip and rat scratch. Jap exhales white. We take the rails. They are 20 minutes ahead. No more. Poirot shakes his head. The tracks curve. They will offload at the spur beneath. The Victoria Tower we cut west through the service duct and meet them at the door. They veer left into a passage so low, Sir Reginald must duck pipes overhead, sweat with heat from bakeries above, the smell of bread and coal smoke, mixing with the tunnel rot. A grate ahead glows faint orange. Poirot kneels, peers through iron slats. A chamber opens wide as a cathedral vaulted ceiling lost in steam. Old sorting tables line the walls. Gas jets burn low, blue flames dancing on brass. Clara stands. At the far end, the handcar abandoned her masks, follow like ducklings in black, the crown now in a velvet box chained to her wrist. She lifts a key from around her neck, long and skeletal, forged from meteor iron. The vault door waits behind her, tall, as a giant, round as a coin carved with the serpent eating its tail, the lock a mouth ready to swallow. Poirot studies the room, 3 entrances, the one they watch a second behind a stack of postal crates, a third above on a gantry where chains hang, for lifting mail sacks 20 feet up. The masks spread out 2 by 2, guarding each door. The dagger passes to a tall figure, robe stitched with gold thread, the new emperor waiting to be born. Sir Reginald whispers, the key turns only when blood anoints. The lock won, drop from the chosen hand. Clara will cut herself. The vault opens. The charter is signed in fresh crimson, and the empire rules for 100 years. Poirot nods. The silver case opens in his palm. A glass ampoule rolls into his fingers. Clear liquid catching light like a tear-jap signals the constables fan out silent as owls they climb the crates. Scale the chains. Take position on the gantry rifles, aimed but held. Poirot moves alone into the chamber. his footsteps light on stone. The masks turn slow as moons. Clara smiles beneath the white oval. You followed the breadcrumbs. Little man now watch the feast. She lifts the dagger to her palm. The blade kisses skin. A bead of blood, wells bright as ruby. The key slides home the lock, begins to turn gears grinding older than nations. Poirot steps forward. Voice calm. The blood is wrong. Mademoiselle too thin, too eager. Look at your wrist. Clara glances the bruise from the cellar black and spreading the cut. Hesitates, the masks freeze. Poirot raises the ampule and smashes it at her feet. Vapor explodes, white and sweet chloroform, thick as honey. The room fills in heartbeats, masks stagger, eyes rolling. The tall emperor drops the crown box, clangs, the key still half turned. Constables drop from the gantry nets of mail rope falling over masks, rifles, butt heads, boots, kick wrists. Jap cuffs Clara, her mask cracking as it hits stone, her face beneath pale and young and furious. Sir Reginald snatches the crown box chains snapping. Under bolt cutters, the velvet opens the circlet, cold and heavy in his palms. Poirot kneels by the vault door. The lock frozen mid-turn, he slips the hairpin home. Works the tumblers, gentle. The gears sigh and stop. The serpent mouth stays shut. He stands, dusts his gloves. The charter sleeps for another day, mon ami. The empire starves without its breakfast. Dawn light leaks through a ventilation shaft. Pink and innocent, the chamber fills with groans and the clink of steel. Jap hauls Clara to her feet, blood dripping from her nose where the mask split. You are done, girl. The yard has a cell with your name carved. Fresh, she spits red on the stone. This is the hand, not the heart. The empire sheds skin. You only caught the glove. Poirot lifts the crown. Diamonds dark now without torchlight. The heart beats in daylight. Mademoiselle in offices and clubs, in voices you hear on the wireless. We have the skin, the bones, the blood. Soon, the name. Sir Reginald holds the crimson book high. The numbers will sing in court. The initials will name lords and ministers. The empire ends at the Old Bailey, not in a cellar. Clara laughs, once sharp and broken, then slumps, the fight gone like air from a punctured lung. They climb back through the grate into Covent, garden the market, waking porters, shouting costers, wheeling barrows, the sky clear and cold. Big Ben strikes 6, the equinox moment passes, the vault stays sealed, the city breathes free. For one more morning, Poirot lights a cigarette, the smoke curling. Toward the sun, his grey cells already mapping the next move. The empire has 1,000 heads cut, 1 and 2 more grow. But this head wears a monogram M, and the thread leads upstairs into the light. Chapter 6. The monogrammed dawn sunlight spears through the high windows of Scotland Yard and lands on a steel table where the crown sits naked of velvet, its black gold dull as old sin. Jap paces the interrogation room, his boots ringing like hammer. On anvil, Clara Vale sits chained to a chair, her face clean now, the white mask shattered in an evidence bag, her eyes fixed on the serpent circlet, as if it might still bite. Poirot stands by the window, his silhouette sharp against the Thames glittering. Beyond his fingers turn the kid leather glove inside out, the monogram M stitched in silk, the size small enough for a lady's hand or a man's with delicate bones. The thread matches the strand from the harlequin mask. The scent of lilies clings faint, but stubborn. Jap slams a folder on the table, statements from the cellar. 23 masks in custody. Lords bankers. 1 junior minister. all singing different tunes. But the same chorus we followed. Orders, the M gave the dagger. The M wrote the blood, ink. Clara shrugs. The chains. Clink. I was the voice, not the brain. The M stands above me, and above you. Poirot turns the glove so the monogram catches light. Tell me, Mademoiselle, the M, who signs the crimson book with £20,000, who meets the serpent in daylight who smells of lilies and Turkish tobacco. Clara smiles slow, the smile of a cat with cream. You will find the M where the river meets the law, in a chamber older than the yard itself. Sir Reginald bursts through the door. His face flushed from running the morning papers. Scream headlines. Empire of Shadows. Real murder on stage. The theatre sealed investors fleeing like rats. He drops a fresh ledger on the table. This came by messenger. No return address pages filled with new names, dates. Meetings set for noon today in the Star Chamber beneath Westminster Hall. Jap swears ripe the Star Chamber has not sat since Cromwell yet. The seals match the serpent wax. Poirot lifts a page, the ink still wet, the final entry, M. will crown the Reserve Emperor at the stroke of 12. The charter moves to the Tower Vault by dusk. The Empire rises, legal and untouchable. Poirot folds the page into a perfect square. The grey cells dance, we go to the chamber, before the bell we take. The crown, the book, the glove, and we lay the serpent on the table for the king himself to see. He turns to Clara. One last chance. Mademoiselle, the name behind the M, or the hangman measures your neck at sunrise. Clara leans forward, her voice a whisper. The M is Marcus Vale, my brother the understudy, who never took the stage. He built the empire from the wings while I danced in the lights. Find him where the velvet meets the oak in the robing room of the House of Lords. Jap snaps orders constables. Scramble rifles, loaded coats, buttoned the yard empties into vans that roar toward Westminster. Poirot rides, with Sir Reginald the Crown boxed and locked in the boot. The glove in his pocket, the crimson book under his arm. Traffic parts for sirens, the city waking to scandal and blue uniforms. Westminster Hall looms stone and history. The robing room lies behind a door of carved oak, guarded by a yeoman in scarlet, who salutes Jap warrant. The man steps aside. The room smells of cedar and candle. Smoke robes hang in rows. Crimson and gold for peers about to sit, velvet cushions wait on benches. A mirror, taller than a man, reflects the chaos. Marcus Vale stands before the glass, adjusting a coronet of ermine, his back to the door. Tall, thin, the same bones as his sister, but the face harder, the eyes colder. He wears the robe of a marquess, though no title exists in Debrett. The dagger lies on a velvet stool, its twin, the one that killed Victor, cleaned, and shining. Poirot steps inside the door, closing, soft. Marcus turns, slow. The coronet, tilting. You are punctual, detective. The chamber opens in 10 minutes. The peers arrive, masked as tradition demands. The charter is signed. The empire crowned. I become the shadow that rules the light. Sir Reginald raises the crimson book. Your numbers end here, Marcus. The courts will feast on your ledger. Marcus laughs, the sound of silk tearing. The courts are bought. The king is old. The prince is weak. The empire owns the ink and the gavel. He lifts the dagger, the blade catching window light like a promise. Jap and the constables fill the doorway. Rifles up. Poirot raises one hand. Wait, mon ami. The grey cells require a finale, not a firing squad. He steps closer. The glove held high. The monogram. M, clear for all to see you. Left your skin in the catwalk, your scent in the cellar, your hair in the mask. The empire dies with its tailor. Marcus lunges the dagger, flashing toward Poirot's heart. Sir Reginald moves faster. The crown box swings. Heavy oak meets temple. Marcus drops the blade, clatters. The coronet rolls across carpet like a fallen halo. Constables swarm. Cuffs snap. Marcus rises, blood on his cheek, but smiling. Still you have the hand, the voice, the mask, but the heart beats in the charter. The vault opens at 12. Poirot kneels by the fallen man. The charter sleeps. Marcus, the vault stays shut. The equinox passed at 6. Your empire dies at noon in the light, not the dark. He stands. The grey cells, quiet now. The puzzle complete. The serpent, headless, big. Ben begins to strike the piers. Enter the hall, their masks ceremonial. Their voices hushed. The Star Chamber waits below. But the door is barred by Scotland Yard. The charter untouched, the crown in police hands. The empire exposed, raw and bleeding. In the morning sun, Marcus is led away, his robe trailing like a funeral shroud. Clara watches from a side door, her eyes dry. The siblings united in defeat. Sir Reginald lights a cigarette, his hands steady. For the first time in weeks, the theatre will rise again, he says. But the curtains will be clean. Poirot stands alone in the robing room, the mirror reflecting a small man with perfect moustache, the glove, the book, the crown on the table before him. The city outside roars with newsboys and headlines, the hidden empire dragged into daylight piece by piece. Yet one thread remains: the Turkish cigarette. The brand only one shop in London sells the scent of lilies from a hothouse in Kew. The grey cells stir again. The game is not ended. Only the board has turned. Chapter 7. The Scent of Lilies. Sunlight pours through the tall windows of the Yard's evidence room and turns the kid leather glove into pale gold. The monogram M now tagged and bagged, the crown locked in a steel cabinet, the crimson book open. Under glass, its pages curling like dying leaves. Poirot sits alone at a scarred oak table, a single gas jet hissing beside him. His notebook spread wide, the entries neat and small, each line a pin holding the empire to the board. He lifts the harlequin, musk the one from the cellar, the silk lining still damp with old sweat. The strand of dark hair sealed in a glass slide beside a second slide, holding ash from the Turkish cigarette. The brand rare imported by one tobacconist in Jermyn Street, the lily's scent trapped in a crystal vial stoppered tight. The grey cells circle, these 3 clues like planets around a hidden sun. Jap enters carrying a tray. Thick coffee in white mugs, bacon sandwiches wrapped in greaseproof paper. He sets it down, wipes his hands on a handkerchief. The Yard is buzzing. Marcus Vale screams innocence from the cells. Clara refuses food, the peers demand release. The commissioner wants your head on a report by tea. Poirot sips the coffee, black and scalding perfect. He turns a page. The tobacconist opens at 9. The hothouse at 10. We follow the scent before it fades. They leave in an unmarked car, Jap driving Poirot beside him. The streets alive with morning costers, shouting fishmongers, slapping cod on slabs, newsboys, waving extras. Empire unmasked. The car slides through traffic, smooth as a knife through butter. Jermyn Street smells of leather and polish. The shop window displays pipes carved from briar and meerschaum. A bell tinkles as they enter. The tobacconist, a thin man with silver hair and a tape measure around his neck, bows low. Hercule Poirot, the honor is mine. He opens a cedar box, the Turkish blend, dark and pungent, only 3 tins, sold this month. 1 to the Duke of Kent, 1 to a lady. In Mayfair, 1 to a gentleman who paid in gold sovereigns and left no name. Poirot inhales the smoke, memory sharp, the same as the catwalk, the same as the cellar. He buys a tin, pockets a second sample. The trail warms. Back in the car, Poirot studies. A map of London, the hothouse marked in Q, the river looping close, the mail tunnels ending nearby. Coincidence is a lie, the grey cells reject. Jap turns west, the Thames glinting like a blade. They pass under Kew Bridge. The gardens opening to the public glass houses rising like crystal palaces, steam fogging the panes. The lily house looms vast and humid, the air thick with green scent and the drone of bees. Poirot walks the central aisle, orchids nodding from hooks, water lilies floating in. Black pools the head gardener, a woman in a straw hat and earth-stained apron greets them. Her hands gentle on a bloom, we supply lilies to only the finest houses. She says the scent you seek is lilium, regale rare and heady, grown in the far house, for one client only. They follow her through corridors of glass, past palms and ferns. The far house stands locked. The door, painted serpent green. The gardener produces a key. Her eyes curious. The client pays in advance. Always cash, always through a runner, the name on the order. Marcus Vale, inside. The heat presses close, rows of lilies rise tall as children, their trumpets white and gold, the scent overwhelming. Poirot moves between the pots, his shoes crunching on peat at the far end. A workbench holds shears twine and a small brass box open inside a stack of letters. The same blood ink, the same serpent seal. The top sheet fresh, the ink still glistening noon. Tomorrow the charter moves from the tower to the bank. The empire crowns its silent. King Poirot lifts the letter. The paper, heavy handmade, the watermark, a crown within a coil. He folds it into his pocket. The gardener gasps. You cannot. The client will. Poirot turns his eyes. Kind but firm. The client is in chains. Mademoiselle, the lilies, bloom for justice now. Jap photographs the bench, the letters, the pots. The constables arrive. Minutes later, sealing the house, the gardener led away for questions, the lilies left to nod in the steam. Poirot stands among them, the scent, now a map. The empire planned one last strike, the charter, the true charter, not the copy in the vault, the original signed by Elizabeth herself, hidden these 400 years. Back at the yard, the evidence piles grow, the brass box, the letters, the tin of tobacco, the glove, the crown, the crimson book. Poirot lays them in a perfect line. The grey cells humming. The silent king waits in the Bank of England, the oldest vault in Threadneedle Street. The charter moves at noon, under guard of the empire. Final masks. Jap enters with a telegram. The tower reports the fake charter still locked the real one. Gone since dawn, the guard captain bribed with a lily and a sovereign. Poirot nods. The board is set. The final act plays in the heart of money, where velvet meets. Golden serpents guard the gate. Sir Reginald arrives. His face shaved, his suit pressed. The theatre reopened tonight, a benefit for the orphans of the stage. He carries a fresh ledger, clean pages, The Empire accounts closed. The new ones open to light. He places a ticket on the table. Front row center. The curtain rises at 8. The Empire falls at 12. We end it together. Poirot pockets the ticket. The scent of lilies clings to his coat, the Turkish tobacco to his fingers. The game moves above, ground now into marble halls and iron doors, where the silent king waits crowned in silence, and the grey cells prepare the final question, who wears the last mask. Chapter 8. The Vault of Threadneedle. The Bank of England rises like a fortress of pale stone, its windows narrow as arrow slits its doors bronze and heavy enough to crush a horse. The morning sun strikes the pediment and turns the blindfolded statue of justice into cold fire. Poirot stands on the pavement, his coat buttoned tight, his hat tilted exact the ticket to the theatre warm in his pocket. The scent of lilies and Turkish tobacco woven into the wool jap arrives with 6 constables in plain. Close their boots, soft, soled, their eyes hard. The warrant signed by the Home Secretary himself. The charter is property of the crown stolen 4 centuries ago. Its return ends the empire forever. They pass through the side gate where porters in scarlet livery bow. Lo, the air inside smells of wax and old money. The corridors echo with the hush of wealth. Poirot leads the way. His steps measured the map of the bank burned into his mind from a night spent over blueprints and brandy. The old vault lies beneath the gold bullion stores 3 floors down past iron gates and clocks that tick like heartbeats. The lift cage rattles them into the depths, the cables singing a thin metallic tune. The vault corridor glows under electric bulbs. Set in brass, the walls lined with steel doors, each stamped with a date. The year 1559 marks the serpent door, its lock a wheel of black iron, the keyhole shaped like a coiled snake. A single guard stands before it, masked in plain black, his robe exchanged. For a porter's coat, the lily pinned to his lapel, fresh and white. Jap raises the warrant, the guard steps aside. His eyes above the mask, calm as deep water. The wheel turns under Poirot's hand. The gears groan. The door swings inward. The vault opens vast and dark. The air cold, as a grave rows of iron boxes line the walls, each sealed with wax and serpent. The charter rests on a pedestal of black marble bound in crimson velvet, its pages yellow with age. The ink faded, but the signatures clear. Elizabeth, Regina, and a dozen names that shape the world. Poirot lifts the charter. The weight light as a promise, the velvet warm, from hidden lamps behind the pedestal. A second door stands ajar. A narrow stair spiralling up into the bank director's private office. The silent king waits above, crowned in pinstripes and power, the empire final mask. They climb single file, the stair narrow and steep, the charter cradled in Poirot arms like a sleeping child. The office above is oak and leather, the smell of cigars and brandy. A single desk dominates the room, its surface bare save for a silver inkstand and a telephone of black bakelite. The director stands by the window, his back to the door. Tall, thin, the face familiar from 100 newspapers. The monogram, M worked into his cufflinks in tiny diamonds. Marcus Vale turns slow, the bruise on his temple purple and yellow. You are early, detective. The transfer is set for noon. The peers arrive masked as tradition. The charter signs the new order. The empire lives in daylight now. Poirot places the charter on the desk, the velvet unfolding like a wound. The signatures glow under the desk lamp. The empire dies here, mon ami. The light is unkind to serpents. Jap steps forward, cuffs ready. The director raises, one hand. Wait the voice, smooth as oil. The charter is mine by right. My family guarded it since the Armada. The empire is England. The mask is duty. Poirot shakes his head. The mask is murder. The duty is to the noose. The director moves fast. The inkstand swings. Heavy silver meets Jap temple. The inspector drops the constable's lunge. The director is at the window. The glass shatters. He leaps the drop 3 floors to the courtyard below. A car waits engine running the charter left behind the Empire. Fleeing into traffic, Poirot is at the window. The car weaves through carts and omnibuses. The director masked now in a silk scarf, the lily still pinned to his coat. The chase spills into the street. Poirot down the stair, 2 at a time. Jap behind, blood on his brow, the constables shouting the city a roar of horns and hooves. The car turns into Lombard Street. The director leaning from the window, a pistol flashes the bullet sparks on stone. Poirot ducks into an alley, the scent of lilies strong. Now the hothouse runner. The final thread, he follows the smell through courts and passages. The river closed the Thames, a silver ribbon under noon sun. The car stops at a warehouse. The director vanishes inside the door, slamming. Poirot arrives alone. The constables. Seconds behind the warehouse smells of tea and spices, crates stacked high. The charter gone, the director fled through a side door to the docks. A steamer waits its funnel, smoking the name. Serpent of Suez painted fresh. Poirot runs. The gangplank rising. The director at the rail, the charter raised high. The Empire sails with the tide. The grey cells scream the final piece, the ticket in his pocket. The theatre at 8, the benefit, the orphans, the curtain, the mask. He turns back, the chase reversed. The Empire thinks it escapes, but the board is Poirot. The piece is his, the steamer horn booms. The river carries the serpent south, but the net closes from the stage where velvet waits and the lights burn. Bright, Jap catches him. At the gate, blood dried his eyes. Fierce. The director is Marcus Vale III, the silent king. The Empire heart, Poirot. Nods, the heart beats in the theatre tonight. The final act, the curtain falls on the serpent forever. Chapter 9. The benefit of orphans. The Imperial Theatre glows again. Its marble scrubbed its chandeliers blazing. The blood long mopped the dagger props, now wood, and paint the house packed tight with lords in white ties. Ladies in pearls, orphans in clean pinafores lined along the front row, their eyes wide as saucers. The programme promises a new play. The Fall of Shadows, a comedy. In one act, the irony lost on no one. Poirot slips through the stage door, the corridors alive with paint and panic. Actors in grease paint, dancers in spangles. The orchestra tuning strings that sing of endings. Sir Reginald meets him in the wings. His tuxedo crisp. His beard trimmed, his hand steady. He passes a prompt book, the margins filled with fresh cues. Lights sound a trap door timed to the second. The Empire arrives, masked as patrons. The director hidden among them. The charter in a dispatch case, chained to his wrist. Jap waits in the flies. His head bandaged, his revolver. Oiled 6 constables posted in. The gods. The dress circle the pit. The plan simple. The play unfolds. The lights dim. The trap springs. The serpent caught in its own coil. Poirot takes his seat in the orchestra, 3rd row centre. The orphans on his left. A small girl with braids offers him a sweet. He accepts, the sugar sharp on his tongue. The curtain rises on a set of crimson drapes, a throne of gilt, a mirror taller than a man. The actors enter the evil vizier, now a buffoon. The king, a fool. The empire mocked in verse and song. The audience laughs. The orphans clap the tension. Coils beneath the jokes like a spring mid-act. The house lights flicker a signal. The director enters late, his scarf silk, his lily fresh. He takes a box above the stage, the dispatch case on his lap, the charter. Inside the play continues. The vizier plots. The king dances. The mirror reflects the box, the face behind the scarf. Marcus Vale III, the heart, the silent King Poirot, rises silent, excusing himself to the aisle. He climbs the side stair, to the box, the door unlatched. The director turns the pistol already in his hand. The scarf falls, the face bruised but calm. You are persistent detective. The charter leaves with the tide at 10. The empire sails, eternal. Poirot steps inside the box. The door closes soft. The orchestra swells the final cue. The mirror on stage swings open, a hidden panel. The trapdoor drops. The vizier falls through the floor. The audience gasps, then laughs. The trick perfect. The orphans cheer. Poirot smiles the same. Mechanism waits above the box. A net of velvet rope. A pulley oiled and silent. He speaks low. The scent of lilies is strong. Mon ami, the tobacco clings to your cuffs. The empire ends where it began, behind the curtain. The director raises the pistol. The shot muffled by a cushion from the box seat. The bullet buries in velvet. Poirot moves the rope, drops the net, falls. The director, tangled. The dispatch case skids across carpet. The charter slides, free. Jap bursts in constables behind the director, fights. The net tightens. The pistol clatters. The orphans below look up, their mouths round the audience, thinks it part of the show. The laughter swells. The curtain falls on cue. The play ends. The empire caught mid-bow. Sir Reginald steps onto the stage. The house lights blaze. He holds the charter high. Ladies and gentlemen, the true comedy. The empire of shadows unmasked. The orphans rise. The audience stands. The applause thunders. The director led away, his scarf trailing like a noose. The lily crushed. Under boot. Poirot returns to his seat. The small girl with braids tugs his sleeve. Monsieur, did the bad king lose? He nods. Yes, ma petite. The king is dethroned. The curtain clean. The orphans safe. She smiles, teeth missing, the sweet gone from his tongue. The taste now justice, cold and sweet. The theatre empties slowly. The chandeliers dim. The velvet curtains close for the final time. The charter boxed and sealed. The crown melted. The masks burned. The empire ashes in an urn. Poirot stands alone on the stage. The ghost light glowing, the grey cells quiet. The board cleared, the game won. Yet one echo lingers. The Turkish cigarette, the lilies, the thread that binds the city deeper than any vault. The hidden empire dead, but its shadow long. The next serpent already coils in daylight offices and clubs. The play changes, the actors new. The curtain rises again. Poirot lights a cigarette. The smoke curling toward the flies. The theatre sleeps. But London never does. The hunt begins anew, behind cleaner velvet. Under brighter lights, the little Belgian smiles, his moustache perfect. His eyes bright, the grey cells already mapping the next act. Chapter 10. The Ghost. Light. The Imperial Theatre stands empty now. the last echo of applause swallowed by velvet and dust. The ghost light burns center stage, a single bulb on an iron stand, its glow soft and steady, the only life in the dark house. Poirot walks the boards, his shoes whispering over fresh paint. The trapdoor sealed the mirror, gone. The throne dismantled, the set struck, as if the play never happened yet. The air holds memory, blood and lilies, Turkish tobacco, and the faint copper of empire. He stops at the prompt corner, the script still open, the final cue marked in red. The curtain, the net, the fall, the empire caught in its own lines. He closes the book, gentle. The spine cracks like a small bone. The grey cells quiet, for the first time in weeks, the puzzle complete, the pieces laid bare. The serpent skinned and named. Jap climbs down from the flies, his bandage gone. His face tired but clean. He carries a tray, 2 glasses, a bottle of Armagnac. The good stuff from the yard, cellar. He pours the liquor dark and warm, the colour of old blood. They drink in silence, the theatre breathing around them. The ghosts of Victor Lang, Clara Vale, Marcus III. The silent king all watching from the wings. Poirot sets his glass on. The prop table, the wood scarred by 1,000 daggers, real and false. The full truth, mon ami, begins 400 years ago, when Elizabeth signed the charter in secret, a pact with merchants and spies to fund her wars against Spain. The serpent seal, her private mark, the empire born in candle smoke and treason. It grew through centuries, feeding on gold and fear, changing masks with every reign. Always the same heart, the silent king who ruled from shadows, while puppets danced on thrones. Victor Lang found the trail first, an actor with a scholar's mind. He bought the play Empire of Shadows from a bankrupt playwright who had stolen pages from a dead lord's library. The script was the charter in code, the lines clues to the vault, the dates, the equinox, the blood. The empire struck to silence him. The dagger meant for the stage became his end. Clara Vale, his lover. And understudy wrote the blood letters. Her hand steady her heart. Cold, she climbed the catwalk, the net, the pulley, the cigarette. Her brothers brand the mask Harlequin to mock the audience she killed for love of the empire and for the lead role she would never play. Marcus Vale II, the playwright, paid his debts with the empire's coin. He rewrote the play to expose them, but the serpent brought him deeper. The crimson book his ledger, the numbers, bribes, the initials, lords, ministers, bankers, the 20,000 to MV himself, the hand that held the pen and the purse. Sir Reginald Voss, the theatre owner, invested to trap. Then the ledger upstairs, bait the cellar, the tunnel, the boat, his confession in the fog. He smuggled the real charter from the tower. Years ago hid it in the bank vault. Waited for the equinox to force the empire into the open. His beard silver with, guilt his hands clean only in the final act. Marcus Vale III, the director, the silent king, the heart he wore. The monogram M in diamonds, the lily from the Kew hothouse grown by his own order. The Turkish tobacco, his private vice. He planned the transfer at noon, the steamer, the escape, the empire reborn in exile, the charter, his crown, the pistol, his scepter, the orphans, the final mask, the benefit, a blind, the children, props, the audience, witnesses, the net, the trap, the fall, all timed to the play's rhythm, the mirror, the hidden panel, the cue in the script, the Empire caught mid-sentence, the sentence death, the play life. Poirot lifts the ghost light, the bulb warm in his palm. The theatre reveals its secrets in the glow, the catwalk where Clara stood the prompt corner, where Marcus watched the wings, where Sir Reginald prayed the cellar, where the masks hung the tunnel, where the boat waited, the vault where the charter slept the robing room, where the coronet rolled the hothouse, where the lilies bloomed the warehouse, where the steamer smoked every step, every scent, every thread woven into the tapestry, now complete. Jap refills the glasses, the Armagnac lower, now the taste of victory, bitter and sweet, the Empire dead, mon ami, the masks burned, the charter returned to the crown, the vaults sealed the accounts, frozen, the peers in cells, the bankers ruined, the minister fled to France, the orphans funded for life, the theatre reborn as a school for the stage. Poirot walks to the edge of the stage, the orchestra pit, dark, the seats empty, the chandeliers cold. He speaks to the dark. The grey cells see further. The Empire was one head of the Hydra. Cut it, and two grow. The silent king is gone. But the charter was copied, the ink still wet, the serpent seal pressed fresh in a dozen quiet offices. The game pauses, the board resets the curtain, falls, but the play continues. He turns the ghostlight toward the auditorium. The bulb catches dust motes spinning like tiny masks. The next act begins tomorrow, in daylight, in boardrooms, in clubs, in the quiet rustle of banknotes. The scent of lilies will fade, the tobacco change brand, the monogram shift to a new letter. But the grey cells wait patient as stone. The little Belgian, ready, the moustache perfect, the eyes bright. Jap raises his glass to the empty house, to Poirot, to justice, to the orphans, to the end. Poirot drinks. The Armagnac burns, clean. The ghost light dims. The theatre sleeps. The city outside roars with mourning. The Empire buried, but not dead. The hunt eternal. The velvet curtain forever parted by truth. The final bell rings, distant from the flies, the stage dark, the light out. Poirot stands alone, the last man on the board, the game his, the victory ours. The story closed, the shadow long, and now the video ends. If the shadows stirred you, the grey cells sparked, like and subscribe below, comment. Your favourite twist, your support means the world and keeps the ghost light burning for the next Empire. The next. Mask the next curtain rise. Thank you for watching. Good night and beware the velvet.